Okay, we're ready.
Okay, so it is now 10:02, and I'll call the meeting to order.
Thank you. Kate, I would like to introduce a newest member of our OPM finance team, Michael Reese. He is an associate accounts examiner, and he is a CPA. He comes to us from Cohn Resnick. He had 6 years of experience there, left as their senior assurance associate, and he has extensive background working with federal and state audits and nonprofits and government entities. So, Mike, if you are on, if you could take your video off just so you can show your face to the committee, that would be helpful if you're able to do that.
Yep, I have my camera on.
Oh, can I
Hi.
see you?
Yeah.
There he is. Okay. So welcome, Mike.
This is John Schuyler. I can't seem to get on Teams.
Oh, sorry, John. Do you want to
Yeah, I
call
have
in?
It's not doing anything. I'll try it again,
Okay.
but
I had a lot of
it's
trouble
just
with
coming
it.
up with nothing.
I had trouble yesterday with it. It
Really?
seems like
I've
it's
never
a
had
little
trouble before.
seems like it was having a little bit of a delay.
Well, this is now a 4-minute delay, so I don't think so.
Okay.
Do we need John for our quorum?
No, we do not. You have a quorum.
Okay. All right. So we were asked to move Derby up because they have another pressing engagement. So, Derby, is there anything new that you want to report before I open it up to committee questions?
A couple updates. One, we are in the process. The board gave us additional staff members, so we have another clerk that's coming into finance that's going to have reconciliation skills, which is going to help us further achieve our goals of timely reconciliation. And we have an allotment for a bookkeeper. We also posted the job for a new finance director, Tony Genovese. We put on the search committee, so we're out, trying to get more of a CPA type person. And the city's moving forward with filling the positions that have been in the audit for years that went unappreciated and unfunded. They've now funded it, and our team, our vacancies are in place. Now we're filling the roster with the skill set we need. We did have a unexpected death in one of our single point of failures. The community development clerk, who handles all of the grants, all of the projects, community projects, went home Christmas weekend and passed away. And that has left a void now that we brought in a interim finance person that's recreating and reconciling all of her items to get the audit completed, because of course Patty was in the middle of everything and she passed away. So it's not an excuse, it's just a fact. So we spent the last month redoing everything she did so that it's ready for John. And on an economic side, as you know, fund balance has been an issue for us. The board has recognized in the 8-point plan that fund balance is a critical component of a municipality's financial status. So how I know that they've recognized it is we got a grant, not a grant, it was an energy credit from UI for $300,000 for an energy management program we did. And the first thing the tax board did was put it in fund balance. So while we had a fund balance replenishment of 1.5 million in the budget, they just added 380,000, recognizing, and there was no argument. There was no begging. They actually suggested it. So everyone is focused on the fund balance and replenishing it. So I feel happy about that. When you don't have to tell a board what to do, they knew where to park it right away. And it's only going to help us restore our fund balance. That's what's happened since the last meeting, ma'am.
Okay. So looking at the top, where do you stand on the double entry for accounting?
Okay, let me open it. We are top. Oh, number one. I'm sorry.
Number one, yeah.
We finished that. We're done with that. The only one that we're behind on is the ones Patty was doing in December. But we are doing double entry accounting for everything except that pension fund. Remember, he wanted us to put that in its own fund. That's the only one remaining. So I'm hoping to get that done. I'll be honest with you, it's probably not going to be touched until March.
Okay.
Just the pension one, but we have everything else is on double entry accounting. The Board of Ed is the only one. Remember, they had that one account, but they told us they worked with the auditor and the new financial software, and that's up and running. But it was up and running effective in September, so not prior to June, but in September of 20.
Okay. Hey, before we go any further, can I ask if you're not a member of the MFAC to mute yourself? If you're not a speaker and a member of the MFAC, please mute yourself and turn your camera off. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Bank recs, you took care of that.
Yeah, the only thing I apologize. You see the initials PF?
Yep.
Those will no longer be there. I apologize.
How about
That's fine.
our special assessments?
The special assessments is really it goes back to the 90s, and what it was when a certain housing development went in, there were sewer assessments that were placed on these for their sewer systems, and we don't know why they've survived 35 years or 37 years of being there, but the town council, Vin Marino, is going to take them off. He's going to go to the board and have them just written off.
Okay.
There's no collection possibility to them. It's like 70 grand. It's just, we're going to be knocking on the doors of like the fifth homeowner, so the board has decided to write them off.
Either next or the next one.
And I'm going to assume that that's not a material amount for that fund?
No.
Okay.
No. It's actually a sewer assessment from the 90s.
Okay.
So both boards, the WPCA and the city, are writing them off, and I believe Vin was putting that on one of the upcoming agendas.
Okay. Compensated absences?
Yeah, here's where we are on that. Okay, we have Paycor and Andrew Backlick, who's on the phone with us, who's the chief of staff. We've been working with Paycor to implement, I don't want to say time management because our people aren't widget makers, but it's going to be an automated payroll component where people, when they log in or when they scan their ID cards in, it will start to log their hours. But in addition, the compensated absences are all reconciled and done. Now this will start to put them on the timesheet and keep them up to date. So when someone takes a PTO, it's going to be booked within that pay period. So the compensated absences, now that we have a starting point, will be updated automatically, not manually on an Excel spreadsheet that someone was doing it at the end of a fiscal year. So the alderman authorized that and approved it. Capital planning put the money in 2 weeks ago, and we are ready to go live. Well, actually, Drew, is it this quarter? I'm sorry.
Yes, we have our first implementation meeting with those folks next week. We anticipate in March going live with that.
Okay.
We hit a little delay because the delay was we didn't view it as a new vendor where we had to do like a new RFQ because it's a component of the Paycor. Some members on the council wanted a contract review and all that. We were trying to explain it's just a component of the existing vendor we use. So that hit a 1 month delay there because of that. It had to go back to a subcommittee.
Okay. All right.
We're excited about that. The problem with it is we don't want the employees to feel like they're working in a widget shop, but we think they're okay with the ID cards and winding themselves in and whatnot. The advantage is their timesheets, the way we're selling it is their timesheets are going to have their real timely vacation, sick, and personal time on it, where now they all understand they have to call up and ask and whatnot. So we tried to frame it, and it's a better overall system, not only for accountability, but for their information as well. And it seemed to have worked, to be quite honest with you.
I hope it does. I went through that whole process and it wasn't pleasant.
No, they think like they think we're going to watch them and clock how when they go to the bathroom or something. It's bizarre how people feel they're intruded by it.
Oh yeah. Questions from other commissioners?
Not here, but could somebody check and see whether they can let me in on Teams?
Kim?
Sorry, it
Can you
should
let,
be okay. I did.
okay,
You know, again,
Diane
I
or Tony?
Sorry.
Mike?
Kate, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. The only question I have, I'm looking at the revenue summary, I guess, as of June 30th, 20, just what the miscellaneous revenue is. I guess it was budgeted a little over 100,000 and they collected over 600 and almost 660,000. Was that just an unanticipated revenue that came in?
Okay, hold on. Part of that was, but remember one of the findings was there was a not misclassification, but some things were putting in miscellaneous revenue that should have been properly booked to other revenue lines. So of the 600, we had a property sale of 450 in that 600. The rest,
Okay.
So that 450, if you remember in the 8-point plan, we kind of anticipated, but we didn't book it because we weren't sure it was going to happen, but it did happen, and that's parked in there.
Okay, thank you.
Kate, I do have some questions. It's Kim.
Go ahead.
Keith, tell me what you're projecting for your FY20 fiscal year end numbers.
So, let me find that. Hold on. We are anticipating a surplus of 1.2 million.
Okay.
In addition to the 1.5 that was budgeted for the fund balance. So if you remember, we actually put a line in for fund balance replenishment.
Yes.
And this is the year we're in now is when we were supposed to be positive. So we believe we're still on target for that.
So are you saying you think you're going to be positive somewhere in that $2.7 million?
No, it's going to be slightly below that. I think it's the 1.6? Is that the number?
Okay.
Now the problem, not the problem. We also have in the 2021 budget, we have another 1.5 million for fund balance replenishment. At the end of this year, that's when we're going to be over the 3 million.
What
In
percent?
that's what I'm asking about in 2021.
Oh, when you get to 2021, yes, we will be between the 2.7 and 3.2.
Okay. Okay.
Now remember how we got there. We had
Right.
another 1.5 budgeted, but we also just got another 380,000. So if you look on page of the 2021.
Yep. I see the grant.
No, if you go to the last page.
Yeah.
I believe it's page 19. On the very top in Department 8400, you see the fund balance.
Yes.
Was 1.5, and now it went to 1.8.
Okay. That's to include the grant?
Yes, but the board put it right in fund balance. So that's why I'm saying to you, it'll be above the 2.7, probably you add the 400,000, which is between the 2.7 and the 3.2.
Okay.
You see how it went from 1.5 to 1.
Yes.
1.8.
I do.
Okay.
What's your budget looking?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
Go ahead,
you're
Kim.
fine. Nope, you finish.
I was going to ask what the budget is looking like for next year.
We just started last night, and as with all municipal budgets, the amount of time spent on an issue is inversely proportional to its dollar value. So we spent a lot of time talking about basketballs and baseballs, and we're going to get into the medical and the debt in the coming 2 weeks. We're not seeing major requests being asked for from the department heads, which is a good sign. We are seeing an uptick in the police department, and a large part of that is going to be driven by the new legislation with cameras and backups and, saving all of the car and body cam. We're looking at about 400,000 of that. It may be spread over 2 years. Right now, that's the biggest increase, and we're waiting on our medical renewal, and we're waiting on our liability and property renewal. We should have those the last week in February. We do know, if you remember, you may not remember, but we're going to see an uptick in our contribution to the pension, and we're going to see an uptick in our debt line item. But that was planned, because next year, that 1.5 million we have for fund balance reserve as an expenditure line gets reduced. We're going to go down to about 500. That million then goes back towards pension and towards debt. So if you remember in our 3-year plan, next year is the year when the fund balance replenishment line gets reduced. We go back to funding the ARC, and we go back to our new debt schedule. So right now the plan is working. Thank God.
I have a couple other questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I look at your fiscal year 21, Keith, I noticed that under police revenue outside work, it is showing that you're behind on that one. Is that billable outside work that is being done? That's revenue that's recognized. So my question with that is are those collectible receivables that are being billed out during this time? Because
yes, absolutely. A lot of those are UI, the water company. So they do the work, and then we bill them, and it's a lag. It's a lag when we get our money from the work done, because we have to pay the police officers in the subsequent pay period for the overtime that they work it. So if they do a UI job today, they're getting paid next Friday, but we bill. So there is a large receivables out there, and that is worked in. It's all big guys. It's all UI, CL&P, regional water, Aquarian. We may have 1 or 2 small vendors that open a hole for a sewer line, but it's all the big companies, and they eventually pay it. It's a lag though. It's probably 60 to 90 days before we see the money.
Okay, I just was making sure that it's collectible.
No, absolutely. And here's the problem: the statute. See, what we do with a small vendor is this: if you owe us money, or you have an outstanding, bill to the city, you can't do the work. We could shut you down.
Okay.
But the legislature's in Hartford, and this would be great if you could help us with this. We can't shut off a utility company if they owe us money.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones who owe us the money, the biggest amount of money, right? So
I understand.
You think the legislators would help the towns and say, look, if you're 30 days in arrears, you shut off my water meter if I'm 30 days, but I can't shut you off from putting a 9-foot hole in the ground with a crap patch job for the winter that everyone loses their tire rods on. You get to keep doing it, and you owe me money. They really should look at the legislature that towns should have some sort of power to shut them off, just like they shut off Mrs. Smith, who doesn't pay her water bill in 30 days. They owe me $100,000. They keep digging.
Yeah,
that'd be a great help.
We're hearing this from other towns right now, so that's my reason for asking that question.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah,
and when you call there, it's funny. The people in their payables department don't have any last names.
Yeah.
So when you call, you get Johnny this time. The next time you get Susie, and Susie didn't get notes from Johnny. And you got to recut. That would be a big help to municipalities if you gave the ability to shut off utilities if they're delinquent in payment.
All right. Thank you for the couple of other questions. I'm noticing that your expenditures. Oh, I noticed that somebody has to go on mute. Sorry. I'm noticing that your expenditures, if you look at the wage sections, they're running about 38%, if I'm reading this report right, 38% that has been used. So it's not remaining, it's used. I would have thought at this point, if this is a report that is reflecting 7.5 months worth of activity, that I would be more in the 60% mark on expenditures.
We actually are. We are.
Is the caption of the header not accurate when it says?
No, it's accurate. What happened? Remember, we had a financial upgrade where we lost the AS400 and we went to the SQL Server. Payroll, the posting of payroll was behind. It is now up to date. They did it last week. Remember, we lost all of December. We had no financials for 4 weeks.
Okay.
Remember,
I didn't.
Remember I
I
told you
didn't.
guys that story?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't recall. So
Yeah, no problem. So
at
it's
this
up to
point,
date now.
it's
I
not
could
a,
send-
okay.
I could send you one in about 2 minutes that's up to date. It's through January 31st.
Okay, no, we can make sure. I just noticed that the expenditures were running on the low side.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
alrighty. Anybody else for the committee before? I don't want to take the floor.
Yeah, this is Becky Seelman. I'd like, if I might, to bring you back to the topic of the city pension plan. Could you explain a little bit more your plan to get back to fully funding the actuarially determined contribution?
Yeah, I had just mentioned it like 2 minutes ago. If you remember when we first spoke, we gave you our 8-point plan, and two of the components there was, and if you remember, I don't think your firm uses the up-to-date mortality table, but Hook and Holcomb did. So when you had asked the question last time about what would be the impact when we start to use the new mortality table, our numbers did use the new mortality table. So when we made the conscious decision, we were funded in the 82% range. We made a conscious decision in our 8-point plan to reduce the pension contribution down to the 190 for two subsequent years, take the difference on a budgetary basis and use it towards fund balance replenishment, with the intention that in year 3, that fund balance replenishment line, which is the 1.5 million or is currently 1.8 million, would now go back to $500,000. That 1 million would then be redirected back to the pension plan, taking the 190, and it will be restored back to the 800,000. The difference will then go towards the increase in debt. Now, when we did this, if you remember what we predicted, and it was predicted on the assumptions of hitting the ROI on the pension performance and payroll being capped at that 2.5%. We had predicted that for the dip that we took, we would take a hit of about 6% on our funding level. So we knew we were going to go down to that 75, 74% range. We just got our GASBs and we're at the 72% range. So we were 2% off of what we predicted 2 years ago. What I share that with you is saying we were cognizant that our funding level was going to go into the mid to low 70s, and that's exactly where it went. Now the redirection of that 800,000 back to the pension for the new year 21-22, which we started working on last night, will bring it back to the recommended level, ma'am. So we will be there.
Have you had a new updated actuarially determined contribution calculated that reflects
got it last week.
Up-to-date information? And is it still using an interest rate assumption of 7%?
Just got it last week, and I have to open it to tell you. I believe we went down to 7%.
Well, according to your 2019 CAFR, you were using a 7% assumption in 2017, and that strikes me as being quite aggressively high given the investment allocation. That coupled with underfunding for 5 or 6 years, coupled with an updated mortality assumption, my fear is that your new contribution is going to be well north of $1 million. And I just wanted to.
I'm not afraid of that because I have it right in front of me, and it's not north of $1 million.
Okay, that's great news.
So if you remember, our number did have the new mortality table in it, and we actually did hit the 7%. So I'm not. Yeah, I hear you. The concern is there. I think all these pension plans, we should be in the 4 or 5, but the flip side of that coin is, what it's going to do to the ARC, right? So, yes, it's on our radar, ma'am. There's no doubt about it. We can't sustain a 7% return. But right now, we like I said, we were going to get to that 73, 70. We're at 72. So the hit that Hook and Holcomb saw we took, their estimate was within 2%. Now, the parting to the board is once you go back and you direct that funding back to the pension and you get to that mid 8 range, you almost have to forget about that. That becomes a fixed cost going forward, and we cannot use that again to build up fund balance. We
Right.
can't, and they accept that. And again, I have to tell you, when that grant came in, the first thing, and it was like a board member that like you would never expect. He says, we got to put it in fund balance.
Good.
And in our life, we find little bits of joy. And as a town CFO, when you hear people like wanting to put it in fund balance, you go like, yes, baby, we got it.
All right, super. That's good news.
Okay, anybody else?
Keith, this is Mike LeBlanc, and you may have indicated earlier, but what is the status on issuing the June 30th, 20 audit?
John is almost 60% done. The hiccup we had, it's not an excuse, was all of the grants, all of the small city grants, the community development grants, and we had a single point of failure, was with Patty. And you don't know how much someone does until you're in their office the day after they died, and you go, holy shit, where do we start? She was a backbone to our organization. So we are hoping to get everything caught up for him in the next week. And John believes, he told me just this morning, he's about 55 to 60% done, and we're going to hump to get it done by the 28th. It might be the first week in March. I'm not going to lie to you and give you false hope.
Okay, thank you.
Tony,
Now,
anything?
I want
Diane?
to address that single point of failure. We do have the staffing positions, like I said in the beginning of the conversation. The boards have given us one more staff member in finance, so we're going to have a clerk that's going to have the reconciliation and QuickBooks experience. We have a bookkeeper funded, and we're going to the market for a finance director in the range, salary range, that's going to get us a qualified candidate.
Good.
All big steps for us.
Do you think you need a temp to do the offset while you're trying to fill the position?
He's already in. David Taylor's his name in. We brought him in 2 weeks ago.
A temp?
Yes.
Okay.
Robert Half, well, we met with them. They found us a really excellent accountant, and he's a go-to guy, and he's been just plugging away. So we already have somebody on board, ma'am.
Thank you.
That's great. Any other commission members with questions?
I'm good.
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Kim, were you done?
Yeah, I only had one other item, and that is, why are we recording line items such as petty cash within your expenditures? I think is that really an expenditure that is really like miscellaneous expense rather than calling it petty cash? Because petty cash usually belongs on the balance sheet.
I have to let that question sink in, because
Okay.
the fact that you asked about petty cash is a beautiful thing. We're down to the $200 items. I love it.
Well, no, it jumped out. It jumped out.
Oh, all right. I thought if we're there, baby, take me off next month's agenda. If we're there, we're good.
Sorry,
I'm only
buddy.
kidding. I'm only kidding.
We're not done with this dance.
I know. I'm only kidding you. I'm trying to make it funny. What it is each. We really should. We could change that. It's historic. They get their $200. They put it in a lockbox in the bottom drawer of their desk, and they use it for miscellaneous items. And it's an expense because they actually give them the $200 as a expenditure item.
That's not how petty cash works.
Correct.
So like I
petty,
said, historic.
Yeah.
I would add that to your new finance director's things that they need to clean up.
Sure.
Anything else?
Kate, I just had one quick follow-up. We're not due to meet again until April 14th, so I would just ask, as soon as that audit is issued, that it be provided to the commission.
Yes.
You'll have it the next day, sir. We'll send electronic.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Thank you.
Listen, I appreciate you accommodating us for 11 o'clock, and everybody be safe. And again, I'm not being funny or dramatic. I really do like these calls because it gives us something to drive towards and it gives us, something to hold ourselves accountable to versus, things go on a shelf and the next thing you know, it's June. So I mean that. I think this process is better than we thought it was going to be when we first met. And I want to thank everybody for their time because you're helping serve us, make us better. And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.
All right. All right. So let's go back to our agenda. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up emails here.
I don't think we got the minutes done.
We didn't get the minutes, yeah. So if we could take a quick moment to do, does anybody have any amendments or changes for the minutes?
This is John. If anybody can hear me, I do not.
We can hear you, John.
John.
We can see you too.
Wonderful. It
There
took
you
a
go.
long time to get on.
I have one correction, is I had to leave the meeting about halfway through. This is Tony.
Do you know what
So
time it was, Tony, that
It was,
they
it
put
was,
in?
I didn't hear the Hampden presentation.
Okay.
So it was right before that.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes
As
I
amended?
will.
as amended.
I will second.
Okay. Any
As
further
a-
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any
Kate,
opposed?
this is Mike. I'm just going to abstain as I was not in attendance for that meeting.
Well, I was getting to the abstentions.
There you go.
Anybody opposed? Okay. And then we have Mike abstaining. Any other abstentions? All right. Motion carries. So next we are on to Brooklyn.
Good
And who do
morning.
we have with us from Brooklyn today?
Stephanie Levin and Rick Ives.
Welcome.
Thank
Do you have any
you.
updates for us from the previous?
Yeah, so just to go down the list of items under us, our fiscal year 20 audit, we had hoped to have done in January, but it did get delayed. I do expect it this week. Last I spoke with the auditors on Thursday, I believe last week, they were in their final review of it before sending it to us. So I'm hoping to have it by Friday.
So what caused it to be delayed?
They had a COVID issue and we were having issues. We outsourced our fixed asset reporting, and we were having some difficulty getting in touch with the person who does that for us. They are stepping away from doing that, and I think that they were just not as invested in getting it done for us as they had in the past. That's being changed for next year, so that won't continue to be an issue.
Yep. Okay.
And we're bringing it in-house, so that definitely shouldn't be an issue because it'll be in my department.
What software do you use?
We contracted out with Thomson Reuters,
Mhm.
and I'm going through, myself and another staff member are starting to go through the training process right now.
So it will be tied
So-
into your accounting system?
Yeah, I'm still trying to, learn how it all works together since I'm used to just sending it out to somebody, or have been. I just send my list of additions and disposals to this outside person. They do it all, but now it'll be all in-house. So I'm
Okay.
hoping it'll be as easy as uploading and keeping track of it on a more regular basis.
Okay. All right. So what else is going on?
Other things that are going on, not so much with fiscal year 20, fiscal year 21 is kind of our focus right now. Our revenues seem to be on track. We do have a concern about our Parks and Recs department, just not being able to run the programs that they've typically run in the past. We're hoping, we had underestimated our tax collection for this current year, so we're hoping that the taxes that we do bring in will offset that reduced income from the recreation department.
We continue to be amazed at the amount of taxes being paid on time. I think it's most people thought we would see a drop. We just didn't know how much of a drop. We really haven't seen it at all. So I'm very encouraged by that.
And on our expenditure side, we're monitoring this very closely, the day-to-day expenses, and we think that we are going to be positive about 200,000 by the end of the fiscal year. Just based on, watching that, as closely as possible and monitoring what's going out.
And how's your budget for 22 looking?
So this is my first year in Brooklyn doing the next budget, and so far it's going really well. We have been meeting with the Board of Selectmen. We started meeting with them weekly, and tomorrow is our third meeting, I believe, and we're probably about 75 to 80% of the way through the initial review of it with them. And hope to have that done in the next 2 weeks so that we can go to the Board of Finance by the end of March.
We had a big bump in our grand list, 13.3%.
Wow.
Which is by far, it's huge. So that's making it a little easier.
Was that due to reval?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
How has that gone over with your residents?
Well, we won't really know. Most of them wait to see what we do and how it affects taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So far, we have had very little complaint about things. We're also having a real big hit in our conveyance tax. Our real estate market is crazy right now.
Crazy good or crazy bad?
Crazy good. Crazy good.
I hear ya.
So that there's a lot of positive things that people are feeling right now. Like I said, they'll sort of hold their opinion until we see what we do with the taxes.
Was any one segment of your grand list
yes.
in particular changed?
Yes, residents.
Uh-huh.
Residents were up about 16%. Commercial was down a tiny bit.
And with the residents, was it uniformly across all neighborhoods and all types of homes, or did some do better than others?
Yes, I did a review on that. There are certainly some that went up more, some that went up less, but there's no pattern to it by neighborhood. It was pretty much across the town.
Okay. All right. Other commissioners?
I have a question. Did you see, have you seen on the rec issue, do you have a corresponding decrease in wages to offset your decrease in fees? Or how did that work? Because you're not having programs, you're not probably.
Yes and no. We were a little slow to react on laying people off. We tried not to do it. And the school started and stopped and started and stopped. And that directly affected our before and after school programs that are run by rec. We did finally lay off that staff. So there was a reduction, but it's nowhere near dollar for dollar.
Right, okay.
But we did make the move.
You made some ground there.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
What are your plans to bring that back in the 22 budget? Any?
At this point, I believe rec is planning to have their full summer program as if COVID never happened. Mm-hmm. Starting in the summer. We'll see, I think, as the spring comes and what the numbers look like and what they're able to do. If schools can come back into session, then maybe we can even get some of that revenue back with the before and after school care if the schools are on a more regular schedule of being open versus closed. But as of right now, they are planning that they are going to be as if it never happened and full program over the summer.
Yeah, actually, they're projecting more revenue next year than they projected this year. And that's totally around, we make a lot of money on before and after school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I started way too many years ago, recreation was about aerobics and basketball and things like that. And now for them to survive, they're really our daycare runners from a before and after school and summer camp program. You know, 80% of their revenue comes from that. So when the school isn't operating, they're going to get hit. We also, you know, we made a deal with them a long time ago that we would like to see 50% revenue opposed to their expenses. So we make them sort of find ways to earn money, and they've done really well at it. This was out of their control, so hopefully we'll get it back.
I was also wondering about the library. Do you contribute to like a private library, or let's just see one line in the budget?
It's called the Brooklyn Library Association. So it's a separate group that runs it. It's not town affiliated. We just pay for everything, and we've done that for years. We call it a grant. I think we pay 98-point-something% of their operating budget.
I see.
We're in conversation right now to make that a town department, so we can have some control over the expenses and the staff.
My guess is you don't have 98% of the control, though. So you just pay 98% of the budget.
Absolutely. That's why we're in talks to take it over.
Okay. Because there's a similar issue there with part-time staff and whether you even had the library open and whether, just curious. Yeah.
Right.
We have, I will tell you, they've done a really good job at keeping it open.
Yeah.
Other commissioners?
This is Becky Seelman. I do have some questions about your pension plan. It looks like for fiscal 19 and 20 and budgeted for 21 that you've got numbers that are considerably lower than your actuarially determined contribution was, at least for fiscal 19. So I'm wondering if you have a plan to return to fully funding the actuarially determined contribution over time.
I would say that the goal is yes, but I would have to.
I can talk to that.
Okay, Rick's going to talk to that.
We had a situation 4 or 5 years ago where the school, for I believe 3 years, didn't pay their contribution. We then being I think 2016, agreed with a plan with Hooker and Holcomb to by the end of 23 to be back to where we should be. And we still are on that plan, and we're paying what Hooker and Holcomb tells us to pay.
And is the Board of Ed doing the same?
Yes.
Yes.
Super. Okay.
All right, Diane?
I'm good.
Mike?
All set.
John?
I'm good.
Kim?
Sorry, had to find the unmute. One other question is the COVID expenditures that are listed here for FY21. I'm assuming that you're going to get a replenishment for those items, or no, they're straight expenditures?
Those are straight expenditures, but with the funding from the state that Brooklyn received, we're looking to offset those expenditures for the end of the year.
Okay. Did you, and I apologize if I missed this part of the conversation, did you give us a projection of where you think you're going to end fiscal year 20 as well as 21?
I did not give fiscal year 20. Fiscal year 20, I'm, based on our expenditures, I'm estimating, and again, I have not gotten the final auditor's report. I'm hoping for it today. I'm actually, after this, going to go email them to see where they are on that. I'm hoping that at the end of fiscal year 20, we will be in the 450 to 460,000 positive.
Okay.
Maybe even a little higher dependent upon the revenues. We were over on, we collected more than we anticipated on the revenues. So based on, any auditor adjustments that still need to be done, I anticipate north of 450.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
That's all. Okay.
Okay. All right. And you will get us that audit?
Yes, as
soon as it
quickly as I
comes in.
can.
Yeah. Okay. Have they given you any clues if you have any management comments coming?
They have indicated that there is something coming. I haven't gotten the final item. I do know that none of the findings from prior years are being considered findings any longer. So
That's good.
I'm happy about that.
That's great
I think
news.
it's going to, yeah, I'm really pleased about that. I think that the finding will likely be in regards to the software that we use and prior year variances not being cleared the right way. So I have to call iVisions and find out how we have to take care of that. It was all done manually, I guess, in the past, but we want to really use iVisions to its potential. And so I've got to work on that.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is Hampden. And welcome back to Scott Jackson.
Good job. I'm sorry I talked.
So who is going to lead us through Hampden's presentation?
Good morning. This is Mayor Lang. How's everyone doing today?
Morning, Mr. Mayor. We're
Good, Mayor.
Excellent, excellent. I'm going to start us off and then pass it off to the finance team. So to start off with, our audit for fiscal 20 was completed, and as we've been discussing with you in the last couple of meetings, the last fiscal year ended with a deficit position, but thanks to some good work and some cooperation amongst departments, the deficit that was originally anticipated to leave our fund balance somewhere between 6 and 8 million in the negative has only left us at a negative 2.3. Not something to write home about, but a lot more manageable than originally anticipated. And in addition, that 2.3, while being on the audit books and on paper, is actually already ameliorated by our bond premium that we received, and it's noted in the audit. I believe it's page 65, a bond premium of $2.8 million that just timing-wise didn't hit for this audit. So we're viewing that as taking care of that issue, or at least beginning to take care of that issue. In turning our attention to fiscal 21 and of course fiscal 22, we're just starting our budget process. All of our departments have submitted their budgets. They've been conservative. We're digging into them over the next coming weeks, so we'll have a lot more information on the new budget for you soon. Budget updates on the existing expenditures for fiscal 21 have been sent up, and I'm going to turn it over to Finance Director Jackson and Deputy Director Galarza for a review of those numbers with you and those projections. Just wanted to mention in general that we are experiencing some challenges with revenues again, but more of those are related directly to the pandemic opposed to anything else, because as you saw in comparison between fiscal 20 and fiscal 21's budget, the revenue projections were far more conservative in the new budget from the previous year that we saw the challenges with, but we still are seeing some shortfall areas. Documents were submitted, of course, that you see, and we'll be ready to answer any questions from that, and then we can go into a few of the positive things that we have moving forward. So I'll pass it over to Director Jackson.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks, and good to see so many familiar faces. I'll go backward to the present and then to the future. So I've been here for a few days, and there are certain things that I was really happy to see. One was the relatively clean presentation of the audit. A little bit late, but not shocking or stunning. So it has been sent to OPM, and we did have a council meeting last night where I implored the council to put together an audit committee meeting as soon as possible, so we can work through any issues that exist within the audit and work it out with the council and with this body. As the mayor said, $2.3 million in expenses over revenue, balanced out by that $2.8 million bond premium. So from a cash and liquidity standpoint, we ended up in a positive position. Currently, I think you have before you projections that show about $2.2 million in expense over revenue. To note that includes $0 for any COVID fund and $0 for any concessions. So anything that we get in those areas will help reduce that. We're also dealing with the delay in taxes. Now, what we're seeing experientially is that mostly those taxes that are escrowed are coming in as they have always been escrowed. Those folks who write a check twice a year are the ones who are taking advantage of the delay. So instead of knowing right about now what our collection rate is, or with at least some level of certainty, that's delayed, and so we probably won't be able to say really what our tax collections are. What we can say is we're not hearing a lot of chatter about foreclosures and things like that would cause us concern. People are just taking that advantage to collect a little bit of interest on those dollars for a little bit longer before they turn them over.
Do you have? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you know what percentage of your property tax was deferred, and whether it was commercial or residential primarily?
Oh, yeah. So our collection rate usually lands at about 98%. But Rick, do you have granular detail on that?
Yeah. Hi. Good morning. We went 100% with the deferment for all of our tax collectors, all of our taxpayers. So we're anticipating probably a firmer number around May.
So I'm sorry, you just let everybody defer if they wanted to. You didn't require them to apply.
Yes, everyone, yes.
Okay.
We followed the same format that we implemented first installment in July. We just carried the program forward.
Okay. All right. Fine. Sorry to have interrupted.
No worries. The other item that I wanted to bring up was departmental revenue. A lot of it, as the mayor stated, was impacted by the pandemic. So we're showing on the projection sheet a negative there. But in my last duty posting, I literally had $500,000 ready to go to the town of Hampden for a development project. So I'm not. I feel a level of confidence that we will eliminate that negative by close of fiscal year.
Okay.
And next year we are starting the budgetary process. It is still in the departmental phase, and so hopefully we'll be able to. I guess I heard that the next meeting is in April. We'll certainly be able to provide more granular detail on FY22 at the next meeting of MFAC.
Okay, so let's talk about that the bond premium. Are you planning to use it to pay off principal and interest?
Rick, you wanna grab that one?
Yeah, right now we brought it in under miscellaneous revenues. We're going to talk to the auditors because we refinanced our debt. So right now our debt service is 6.2 million less than what's in the adopted. So we may bring it into debt service to reduce our debt service payment. That's an option. And we're also anticipating for the ensuing fiscal year putting a line in for fund balance restoration, which will also cover, between we need to speak to the mayor, and if approved by the legislative council, between $2 to $3 million in there to cover for just in case it's not needed for fiscal year. If it's needed for fiscal year 21-22, then that would be our plan B, to have it covered for the ensuing fiscal year. One key element that I don't believe we mentioned is that our grant list to the revolve went up 8.5%. So that's going to give us a lot more flexibility as we prepare the budget for the fiscal year.
Okay, so the 6.2 million reduction in debt service is strictly from the refunding.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we previously in the last meeting we also borrowed a TAN for liquidity for because of COVID issues, and we weren't really sure how the collection rate was going to fall. But we're pleased to say that this month is our last payment. So we fully paid our debt service by now. We also paid off. We're paying off the TAN by the end of the month. So the two big hurdles that we had that were causing a liability on our have been cleared as of today.
And the million and a half. Go ahead.
So there are several issues in the town financially, obviously, as you know. When I first walked into this building in 2005, we were holding $8.5 million due to the medical self-insurance fund. That is going to run positive this year. Our pension was 10.25% funded. It's currently at 40%. So there are some things, the grand list is up $300 million. That's 5% residential, 3% condo, 20% commercial. So we also achieved a shift to commercial, which everyone wants to see. So there are obstacles, but there are some sort of trailing wins. I think that are stories to be celebrated.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about that internal service fund? What happened there?
Sure. It was improperly funded for many years, and so it was just held as a reserve until it got to the point of $8.5 million. And in 2009, the auditors wiped that away.
Okay.
And in doing so, wiped away our fund balance. So our fund balance went from $9 million to $500,000 with the stroke of a pen. So we had to deal with the fund balance restoration. We had to deal with appropriately sort of getting the right team in for that self-insurance fund, and we've had positive results. We're kind of going to hang on to some of those positive results because it's still a little bit mysterious as to whether or not folks were deferring medical care or avoiding medical care, and what it might mean in terms of cost for that deferral or appointment or avoidance. And so we're gonna keep some of those savings.
So those positive results are why we're seeing why you're projecting $1.5 million savings in the current year.
That's correct.
Okay.
And if I could build on that a little bit, so the document submitted to you, represent a conservative projection, as Director Jackson mentioned, and I'll go a step further and say that given the medical insurance number that's in there right now being 1.5, we're not going to have a full comfortable level of comfort to say for certain what the savings are going to be until we get past the third quarter and look at it strong in April. But I think that a more accurate talking number would be a range of 1.5 to 3.5 in savings. It's real numbers, and it's based both on the COVID precaution, if you will, of folks not using certain traditional medical services, and some based on the full conversion over to the HSA program that we've talked about in the past. So that is going to be something that's helpful for us moving forward. And I don't see us working to reduce the medical line, even though we're going to have that kind of savings. So if the savings continue forward, we'll have that as additional surplus in the upcoming budget to further bolster fund balance position. So self-insurance has definitely been a point of positive. I wanted to mention that just yesterday, this is hot off the presses, we reached a tentative deal with the police union for concessions, and it's a total package of just shy of $1 million, and it will be falling over a couple of fiscal years, 21, 22, and a touch in 23. So that is not accounted for in here, but that actually is freshly inked. And as Mayor Jackson mentioned, 40% funded on pension first year. Force of habit. Hey, having two mayors in the building, is that better 2 for 1, or is that actually making it worse? I don't know. We'll have to see. So 40% funded, and as you recall too, this is the first year that our actual annual budget has full ARC funding, which will remain. But on that note, the ARC that came out from Siegel showed a little bit of a reduction in our actual cost based on a number of factors, including the correction of the overpayments that we talked about at the last meeting, and there's another small reduction in their projections for the upcoming year as well. And last but not least, the governor's budget held us harmless, as you know, and the Board of Ed is seeing some additional dollars beyond that from the ESSERS funds. And we are hoping that perhaps the $100 million for distressed municipalities might be shared with a little bit of a wider audience, perhaps alliance districts as well, which would be certainly helpful to a town like ours, or maybe towns that are working nicely with the MFAC. And a confirmation that my budget presented to council for fiscal 22 will include a fund balance restoration line, regardless of the outcomes of and projections of the current fiscal year. We're going to have that in there either way to continue to bolster that fund.
Okay, let's go to other commissioners. Would like to ask some questions.
Yes, it's Kim.
Go ahead, Kim.
Back to your annual audit reports, I noticed that we have some internal control over financial reporting with some significant deficiencies. Do you know what that is in relationship to? I didn't quickly see it pointed out. Oh, here it is, pointed out. It's about the pension. Oh, is the cut? Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Kim. I was just going to highlight the pension contribution. Okay, so for the prior year, our pension contribution was met. Our ARC was met at 100%.
Somebody has to put us on mute. Okay, sorry, somebody's interrupting you. It's not you. Okay. Somebody. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I'll pause. So we met our ARC at 100%. So in fiscal year 2021, the current fiscal year, our ARC by the actuaries was forecasted to be $23.6 million, and we just got a revised statement, so it's 23.4. So we're going to save about $200,000 in the current year, and then in the ensuing fiscal year, it's going to remain at 23.4. So we're going to have, we're budgeting it at 100% of the ARC, and the ARC has come down this fiscal year and the ensuing fiscal year by $200,000. So the auditor submitted the audit. What we're doing next week is we're going through and we're putting together step by step all of his comments, whether I don't think there's anything material, just deficiencies and addressing them. And we're going to put an action plan in place that we're going to follow. And once we gather all that information, we can bring it back to the committee and discuss how we're addressing each point.
Okay, that'll be great. We actually have a standard format template that we've created, and someone on my team can share that with you if you have not received that yet.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. We'll utilize that as part of our plan to address the audit issues.
Okay, thank you.
Have you got that format, Rick?
We can.
No, the state will forward it to us. That's fine.
We'll send it to you, and then this way, when you provide us with an update in April or sooner, it would be great to hear where you're at.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll do that. We're also providing the same information we provide to the MFAC, to the Legislative Council, and the Fiscal Stability Committee. So we'll use the same form for all three committees, so we'll all be on the same page.
Very good.
While we're on the audit, are there any management comments that are concerning?
It's still a little bit fresh, and I'd really like to get the thoughts from the Legislative Council's Audit Committee and make sure that we are providing sort of a consistent messaging on that. So we're trying to do that as soon as possible, and we will share those with you as soon as the ink is dry.
Okay, thank you. Kim, were you done with your questions?
I am, thank you.
Tony?
Yes, I have a question. This relates to the audit. It's more of a question on your a long-term projection on. You have I was looking at your net position here, and a large unfunded obligations. It's a little shy of $1 billion on your summary of. Here it is, summary statement of net position. I guess so my question is, do you have any idea in the next 3 or 4 years if you have any fiscal large structural increases or structural issues with any of your longer term obligations, like your retiree health care or your debt or your pension or anything of that nature? Do you have any sort of idea if that's all short, any problems in the shorter term here? Or?
Thankfully, we've hit the top of the mountain when it comes to getting to our full ARC payment, and the ARC payment is only going to see, as estimated by our actuaries, about a 2% increase per year on debt service. But the most that we have as an increase year over year is $1.5 million to $2 million. We made sure that the restructuring that was done had no balloon payments and was stable. And when it comes to the medical insurance, fingers crossed, we'll continue to have the current savings that we had that we're realizing a little bit last year and much more this year. But we're also working on a program of taking a number of our retired individuals, which make up obviously a large pool of that enormous cost, second highest line in our budget, and moving over to a fully insured program. And that's estimated to save us another dollar amount that it'll hit the seven digits.
You might have mentioned this in a previous meeting. I apologize if you did. But have you eliminated retiree health care in any of your bargaining units going for new hires?
Only to the extent that they were offered oh so generously to new spouses and. I think that might be it for now when it comes to the retiree medical. But were all turned over. It's from what was actually the last 40 folks on July 1st that had a zero contribution. Everyone has been moved over to the high deductible HSA plan, and each of them have annual increases in their percentage of payment and increases in the caps.
Okay.
But
All right,
to answer his question, you haven't eliminated OPEB for anybody.
No.
Okay.
Right.
Diane, Becky?
This is,
I'm
ahead,
good. Go
Diane.
ahead, Becky. No, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay. I do have some significant concerns about the actuarial assumptions that are being used to measure your pension and OPEB liability. For the pension plan, you're using and I'm basing this on the 2020 CAFR, and which reflects the 2019 valuation. And perhaps you've made changes with your 2020 valuation, but at least at 2019, you're using an interest rate assumption of 7%, which is very high relative to your asset allocation. You're using a salary growth assumption of 2.5%, which is quite low. You were using an out-of-date mortality assumption without full generational projection of mortality improvements. And the CAFR reports that you have not had a formal experience study. Given that the liability is hovering around $500 million, I strongly recommend that you commission an experience study to make sure that the retirement and turnover and salary growth assumptions reflect the plan's recent experience. I'd also encourage you to have a health actuary set the medical inflation assumptions for measuring the OPEB liability.
So thank you for those comments. I can speak to the experience study, and that's something that Siegel has brought to our attention, and we're going to put that out to an RFP in the coming months. That's something that we are committed to, and I think that's a very good suggestion when it comes to the health insurance side.
Super.
Okay. Mike?
I am good, Kate. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from the committee? All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and for your suggestions. Be well.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
If you need anything, just let us know.
Will do.
All right. I don't know if anybody had a chance to review the information that was submitted from Plymouth and Ellington, if we had any questions that people wanted to send to them. Anybody? Okay.
I'm guilty. I have not.
I'm on vacation. I have not.
There you go.
All right. Well, if anybody, in, the near future, if you review them and have any questions, please send them up to the staff.
Yes.
Okay. FHMS project update.
So included in the packet today is a memo that had gone out to all CEO, CFOs of towns and cities, and it's to give an update on we are no longer using the UCOA portal that is with Bloom Shapiro. That is been shut down. We are in the process of bringing that data over to the state, but it will be stagnant. I'll wait to hear if people have a need for this or not. If so, we could build reporting off of it. My guess is that folks will not be using that. It is kind of my guess so far. After the memo went out the very first day, one town came forward and was really excited to not have to do the UCOA and that format, and that it took a long time. What I will tell you is there is this commission is aware that we have built, a very simple form in the UCOA. We've made some really great strides where now into the testing phase, probably close to the internal final testing phase that we plan to get through by the end of this month. We would then be looking maybe for sometime in March to then see if the folks on this commission are interested in hitting the system, taking a look at it. We can do another meeting like we did last time and do a demonstration is really what I was hoping for, and hope that you would be interested in taking a look at it before we go to those next stages.
Yeah.
Sorry to say,
myself because the phone was ringing here.
No problem.
Yeah, I think it would be great.
Okay, we're really, I think this team is really, really excited about it. I know that we are, we do have time left, and but I think it would be better if we prepare a presentation that can actually walk you through the system. But a lot of good work has happened since we last shared it with you.
Great. Okay. Anything else on that?
No, I don't think so. Bill or Julian, they're both on this project.
No, we're proceeding. I think we're a couple towns have commented that they're glad we're moving to something else.
They said we'll be so happy to enter our CAFRA as long as we don't have to do UCOA.
I know my staff was happy as well, Kim.
Really? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, you got to see the templates, so you'll see how, hopefully they'll be systematic and it will be a good format, but we still will be looking for your feedback on this. And, this is a really big lift for the state. It's a big lift. Bill and I have been spending every Sunday together for the past 3 to 4 weeks, and we're just hitting this system just to make sure that when we give you a look at it, it looks systematic. The numbers are coming through fine. It's going to have last year's data on the side of it, except for UCOA. So again, we're pretty excited. It will require the auditor to do a certification, and the reason why we built a certification is because the old UCOA system did not have a certification, so therefore all of that data that was entered was really bad data, and there was no system of controls. And when we met with Bloom, they literally let us know that. And so that's what's sad, is that it didn't tie to the CAFRA. It really didn't necessarily. Some towns might have put that control in, but all towns did not. So but we are excited to put the controls into the new system. The towns will be able to enter their data, but we would be looking for a certification from the auditor to make sure that, it's at a high enough level that somebody understands the data, because this data will be the town's data, the city's data. And from that perspective, we would want to make sure it's good data, and it will become part of the new benchmarking and the ratios and the fiscal indicators. So it will be good. Our team will turn to a quality control measure, and then being able to really pay more attention to those towns that are falling into a distress level than before, where, you get it after somebody's already fallen off the track.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else for the commission today?
I have a process question.
Sure.
What is the procedure for either positively saying that a municipality is no longer necessary, we don't need to monitor them, or negatively to say, we've done all we can and you need to move on to a, different venue here, a different group? How does that work?
The positive one is easier. We, we will have a vote as a commission to release them. Like, I think the sense was that Plymouth was kind of close to being off our radar, and then they had some struggles, so we didn't release them.
Okay.
Yeah, they budgeted fund balance in their current year, so they, in doing that, we had asked for them to stay a little longer.
Right. Okay. But at some point, the commission will say, have a vote, and then they're released.
Yes.
Okay, so that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. And we would also have to vote if we're going to kick them up to the MARB.
To MARB, right? I see. Okay.
I mean, sometimes that could be taken out of our hands if it just becomes so clear that they belong in MARB. We don't have to vote, but
right.
that is one of our responsibilities, is if we feel somebody should be going up there, to recommend them.
Right. Okay. Okay. Thanks.
And, we have a lot of, I don't think we've looked at these towns with their, what do you call them? In light of the I'm going to call it performance measures or markers lately.
Correct. Yep, correct, Kate. We are ready to, we're a little delayed because we were down by 2 staff members with completing our fiscal indicators. Usually they are done, last year they were done in January. So I have to say, and it's being automated. So the system is moving over to the new system. So we're about a month behind target on that. And so now that we have Mike on board, it gives us relief. Morgan should be back in the beginning of the month. So we're thinking that we would be able to, we're hoping, I think our target date right now is the end of March, if not sooner, but right now it's for the end of March for us to look at where the towns have fallen out again, and then be able to give you some new figures and data at that time.
That'd be helpful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of data, Tony. And it's indicators that we as a commission had worked with the staff on, what things we thought were important, and not just the indicator themselves, but, what about that indicator signified trouble, if they were moving to a certain direction.
Right.
So it'll be good to look at those again.
And you can see the trend probably over time.
Exactly.
You can see the trend over time, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
This is Becky. Is the data that's being collected solely the data that we need, for instance, for sweeping towns under our umbrella and replacing the old municipal fiscal indicators? I'm wondering if this isn't perhaps with a revamped system an opportunity to consider whether other information from the CAFR that would enable other benchmarking be included as well.
It probably will be stage 2, because we already had preliminary meetings on what we were going to build. So at this very moment, yes, fiscal indicators was one of the primary items, is so that the team wouldn't have to continue to enter that data. We have pension, we have OPEB, we do have a UCOA because there's supposed to be a benchmarking, but it's a very simplified UCOA. I'm saying it's simplified. I would want to hear that from others. In addition to that, we did build in additional data that would build off of the I would call it the triggers and the ratio analysis that we originally brought to MFAC in previous meetings. That data now is being collected. Where in the past, Bill just brought forward the 3 towns or the 4 towns that we had been working on. In the future, we'll be able to pull that for all towns.
Mm-hmm. Well, just to plant a seed for your consideration, there may be 6 or 7 of the pension and 6 or 7 of the OPEB numbers that are in CAFRs that can be used to do some very nice benchmarking analysis around the relative richness of those benefits from one community to the next. And we've been toying with the idea of just, manually going and pulling the information from the CAFRs so that we can provide that analysis. But probably half of the numbers are already being collected as part of the fiscal indicators, and adding just a couple more might be something worthwhile for the municipalities.
Becky, if you could even possibly stay on the line after this call is over with, we would definitely at least want to hear your thoughts.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Okay.
Kim, how confident are you with the new platform being ready to go for April 1st?
I'm confident it will be ready for. When I say April 1st, it's going to be April 1st for external people to begin to start to hit it. Well, actually, I want external, meaning MFAC, through the month of March. It should be you know, I don't think, I think we're going to make the mark. That's what I will say. I did say April 1st, of course. Good question.
Kim, the reason why I ask is we're putting together in play for Connecticut GFOA. We're going to be having a virtual conference on April 8th. And
Oh, yay.
maybe there'd be an opportunity if you wanted to do a demo, a demonstration, a quick demonstration for those that register for the virtual event.
Okay.
Is that something that you might be interested in?
We can check the date.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I'll talk
the
to my
afternoon of Thursday, April 8th.
Thursday, April 8th. You know, it's always good to get in front and do a demo. I mean, I can see that Bill is cringing, even though I can't see his face right now because we have such a large lift and a heavy workload. But let's take a look at the date and time, and I will get back to you. How's that?
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. Do you have time?
Right now, my guess is it would probably be, 3 to 5 or, 2:30 to 4:30 that afternoon.
Okay.
We're just, because we've had to essentially cancel all of our conference meetings over the past year, we're looking to get in front of the membership, and I anticipate we'll have a presentation from CCM on the state budget status update. And it'd be a nice opportunity if you wanted to take advantage of the platform to give a demo presentation.
Okay.
And how long would you expect them to be speaking for? Like 20 minutes, half an hour?
Yeah, I'm thinking pretty quick, 20 minutes. And
20 minutes?
Okay. And, because of the way the platform is, or I'm sorry, the way the virtual is going to be set up, we may set it up where you allow for maybe a couple questions, but ultimately mostly defer them back to you at a later date if they have follow-up questions, they being the finance directors that are attending.
Okay. So can you see this?
Yep.
Yes.
There you go. That's what the tiles are going to look like in the brand new system. When we get done, it will be a work list for each. Now I'm in there as a system administrator right now, so I get to see everything that is pending through our testing. So this is the auditor category and the status of each one of these towns that we've tested. Here's OPEB with the pension approval of what has been completed. Here's our fiscal indicator. Keep in mind, everything's not in the proper order. We're asking for some of this to be done. I can see Bill cringing right now, but I'm a loose cannon, so what the heck, I'll show you. Here's the pension. Here's our budget. We're going to build out a budget section. So this is my work list. Every town will have their own similar type of work list, so that if you've completed your auditor section and if you've completed your OPEB, if you've completed fiscal indicators, it will show accordingly.
That's great.
Yeah. I'm so excited about it. This is the entities. So keep in mind, I'm a system administrator with all of the entities. If we clicked on Andover, this will then show the entity of Andover, and down here is the person's system rights of it. The first selectman right now is the primary user, and over to the side will tell you what kind of access they happen to have to the new system.
Will that be up to each town to determine who has access?
Yes, we would want to hear that from the CEO and CFO. We're looking for a super user as the point one. There'll be one primary per town, only one primary. The auditor will be able to come in and certify their work as an auditor, and the auditor can then look at their towns that they actually oversee, and then they can sign off and approve their exemptions that they're the auditor for the town. So no more paper back and forth. It will be all electronic. Here's the auditor's appointment. So if you're going to appoint an auditor, you would then be able to go in. Hold on. Oh, I haven't done it yet. So forgive me. I can't do that town. Bill's gonna.
That's
I
cool.
can
So
already-
you won't have to submit the paper up to you every year.
No more paper. No more paper. It's all
That's
here.
Awesome.
This is
Isn't-
really lovely, Kim.
Love it.
Oh, thank you. A lot of work. This is the kind of stuff that we've done, but I want you to, I don't know if you can see me, but I want the commission to know that your thoughts and your input has also helped with this large push to get this done and to get off of, the Bloom Shapiro. That could have been so much more, but okay, so that's the past. Let's move forward. The budget we're working on, and let me call up Newington because that's our test because that's Billstown. I don't know if you want to stay in, if you want your time back, but anyways, I'm just, giving you a little flavor. Oh, reload my site.
But Kim,
Yeah.
if the timing works, I think it'd be great, you, even in 15, 20 minutes for you just to
Yep.
present what you want to present. And then, it'd be the opportunity for the friendly reminder that between then and June 30th, each of the towns are going to have to sign up and prepare to input their information.
Correct.
They'll be so happy to be able to do this electronically.
Yes.
Oh,
Don't you
great.
think? Yeah, thanks. And here's the little bit of the fiscal indicators as which you all inputted, gave us your insight on. If I could spell Newington right. I don't have my keyboard down because I have this big book in front of me. Newington. Oh, here we go. So 19 is in progress. Bill and I are putting this data in. This is what fiscal indicators is going to look like and where you are going to, this is where Bill and I have entered the data for the town of Newington. So Becky, when you asked about stuff from CAFRA, this is the, your assets, net position. This is all of the information that was on the templates that we walked this commission through originally. And so it just kind of continues to go down the page, looking at assets, short-term debt. Looks a little extensive, but it's really not a lot of numbers. We did give you, if we captured the data in the past, we gave it to you on the side with a star if we weren't capturing the data in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And will
So-
there be a way for us to run reports so that we can compare ourselves to other towns?
Question too.
Yes.
Good question.
Yes. And so at this moment, the rollout will be the data. I had shared with you in the past, the STARS reporting. We do not have a tile, but we will have a tile in the future to run reports for your town and then to be able to do some comparisons.
Terrific.
Yeah. UCOA, we do have a UCOA tile. This may not make people happy, but knowing I'm typing on a keyboard that is way up too high.
I think a lot of us, the problem we have with UCOA, not just the entering of it, is the usefulness of it.
I get you. And again, I'm flexible to listening. How's that?
Yeah.
As long as we can adhere to the statute and as long as, so this is what the UCOA looks like for the town. And we built it with some ratio percentages is kind of how we entered this data. This data was solid off of the CAFRA with the debt and the government in each one of these categories, as we had already discussed. We do want the total to go to the right-hand side. That's a challenge right now because we asked them to build it ahead of time. So it might be a rework for next year. But these are the categories that are all coming from the CAFRA. This quality control is being worked on so that we can make sure that when you're done here, it ties to the CAFRA. It does have the similar categories, 1, 2, we're open to continuing to talk about it, but we did build it.
Okay. That's great.
A little bit of flavor. Where your pension OPEB that you talked about is detailed, and Bill and I have not tested those 2 items yet. That's on our to-do list.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anything else for the committee?
I'll just make a plug that the Connecticut Public Pension Forum is working on putting on a session on Wednesday, March 17th, covering pension obligation bonds, since West Hartford has voted to proceed with a $365 million issue, and it's a hot topic.
Wow.
It is. And you helped with that, right?
I did. So the people involved, me as the actuary, the finance director, bond counsel, the financial advisor, the investment consultant, are going to talk through what West Hartford is doing and more about pension obligation bonds in general.
Oh,
Well, I guess since there'll be no parades that day, we've got to do something, right?
Right.
Do you have a time, Becky?
It's scheduled for 10 to 12.
Okay.
Oh, Kim, we don't have a secretary. You know, Doug used to serve as the secretary, so.
Correct. We
I
can
don't know
take
how
care of that this time. Kate, if you would like, one or two things, we could continue to do that and wait till Doug's position gets filled and
tell them you're the newest, you get to be the secretary.
And or we write the minutes anyways for them, so we can continue to be flexible.
Well, how about we make that an agenda item for the next meeting?
Very good.
And when do you expect his replacement to be appointed? Any idea?
No, we have not heard back. I think that because of the secretary being very busy with the budget, but we're going to rise it to the occasion again.
Okay.
All right.
All righty. Okay, if there's nothing else, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? All right. We are adjourned at 11:39 by my clock.
Yep.
Thank you all.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Hi.
I'll wait till you stop recording.
Oh, stop recording this.
Yeah, and we have Becky.
Okay, hold on. Oh, stop. Stop.